Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, I guess, depending on where you're tuning in from today. We are back with our latest Campaigns and Elections webinar. I'm Amy Darling, the Director of Events at Campaigns and Elections, and today's presentation is called Game Changing Solutions to Reach More Mobiles, Boost Fundraising, Advocacy, and GOTV with These New Technologies. Sponsored today by Tele-Town Hall and Telephone Town Hall Meeting. Before I turn it over to our presenters today, just a couple of notes for those of you who have not been with us before. In the bottom right hand of your screen, you'll see a chat tab and a questions tab. Feel free to utilize both throughout the day for any questions, comments, etc. you might have. The chat tab is visible to everyone, so everyone on this call will be able to see what you write there. If you have a question you don't want shared for whatever reason, feel free to drop it in the questions tab. That'll come to just the three of us here. And we will have a couple of poll questions throughout the presentation. There's three of them, so look for those. They'll pop up over your screen, a simple yes or no answer. And lastly, this is being recorded, so it'll be sent out later today if you want to rewatch it later. And with that, I will turn it over to Sean Thompson, President of Tele-Town Hall.
Thanks, Amy. I just saw Carmen's message. She said she's not able to hear the audio, so I just want to check. Can someone else chime in if they can hear the audio into the chat box? Okay, thanks, Liz. I appreciate it. Okay, just want to make sure you can hear what we're saying. Yes, appreciate it. Okay, so as Amy said, today we're going to be talking about really the new technologies that can be used to reach more mobile phones. And specifically, we're going to be talking about fundraising, advocacy, and GOTV. And I just wanted to start by quickly introducing myself. My name's Sean Thompson. I'm the president of Tele-Town Hall. I helped start the company about 2 decades ago, and so I've really been working on providing novel technologies for political outreach and advocacy. And Kurt, you want to just say a few brief words about yourself?
You bet. And I've been doing this for about 15 years, pretty much all the same time as Sean, with Sean. It's a pleasure to be able to work with him. And I'm going to be just doing color commentary for the most part today, and just adding. Sean's basically running this show. He does a really good job doing it, and I'll add some color to it. So take it back, Sean. All yours.
Okay, thanks, Kurt. And before we get started, I just wanted to let everyone know that we at Tele-Town Hall are going to be releasing a short 4 video series with campaigns and elections, the first of which is going to be released today after the webinar. So I'll include the link in the chat. But just very briefly, we're going to be talking about, the first video is going to be about advocacy solutions, which we'll be getting into today. Then we're going to talk about the resurgence of the phone in the political market, talk about new technologies for elected officials to reach their constituents, and then finally talk about fundraising in our 4th video. So those will be released over the course of the year. With that, I'm going to start by setting the backdrop for our webinar today. So as many people know, mobile phones are really one of the most effective tools by which to reach your audience in today's world. The average American spends over 5 hours on their mobile phone each day. And that's an increase from even last year of about 14%. So according to this survey, it's not surprising, but Gen Zers and millennials spend the most time on their phones. But what may surprise some is that baby boomers actually spend over 4 hours on their mobile phones each day. So really, the mobile channel is one of the most effective channels for reaching all different age demographics. But if you're reaching people on the mobile channel, what are some of the things that you need to keep in mind to do so successfully? So the first is building trust with your audience. So you can't simply have a transactional communication with them. You can't say, please vote for me, or please make a donation to my campaign. You really have to build trust and build a relationship with your audience. The second important thing to do is making sure that your communications are compliant. All of the technologies that we're going to be talking about today are TCPA compliant. Thirdly, your communications need to be scalable. So you can have great communication tools, but if you can't reach a critical audience size, they're not going to be effective, especially for congressional or statewide campaigns, nationwide campaigns, where you literally have to reach thousands or millions of voters. Fourthly, your communications have to be penetrating. So there are a number of channels that have become oversaturated in the last few campaign cycles. Those include cold texting, emails, digital ads, television. All of these tools, definitely have a place, but they should be used as part of an omni-channel approach. So we're going to be talking about the tools that actually cut through the noise of some of the oversaturated channels today. And then lastly, before we get into fundraising, I want to say that your communications really need to be timely. So we found last election cycle, a number of peer-to-peer text messages that were sent out by campaigns didn't actually reach voters until after election day. So the tools we'll be talking about today, you can mobilize really quickly and get out to your audience in a timely manner. Okay, Kurt, is there anything you want to add before we start with some of the tools that can supercharge fundraising?
No, I'll save it for commenting on what you're going to talk about in fundraising. Go ahead, please, Sean.
Okay, and again, if you have a question, please feel free to put it in the chat and we'll address those as they come to us. We won't wait until the end. So the first new technology that we're going to be talking about with fundraising today is live direct to voicemail. And live direct to voicemail, you can think of as a compliant ringless voicemail 2.0 solution. So the previous ringless voicemail solution would drop pre-recorded messages to cell phones. And the problem with that, the FCC came forward and said, that's a call that requires consent. So what we developed was a way to drop your personal voice message to cell phones at scale, but using live voice. So we have a live operator that's repeating a short script, and that message is delivered directly to people's cell phones. So what are the advantages of live direct to voicemail or ringless voicemail 2.0? Number one, it's scalable. So one speaker can actually drop millions of personal voice messages per day. It's cost effective, so you can deliver these personal voice messages at a fraction of one-to-one professional live calls. Your audience is going to get the complete message and actually be able to replay the message multiple times for key details. Live direct to voicemail is actually more positively received than robocalls, not surprisingly, but also than peer-to-peer text in the last few years. And a number of people haven't seen technology where the voicemail goes directly to their mobile phone without multiple rings. So it's intriguing, and a lot of people are likely to listen to it. Also, it's a very time efficient tool. You don't have to deal with registering for 10DLC as you do with peer-to-peer texting. You can actually set up a live direct to voicemail in the same day. All you need is a script, a list of mobile phones, and a caller ID. And because it's so time efficient, one person can deliver thousands of messages per minute. The candidate can actually deliver the voice message themselves, or they could have a surrogate deliver the message. The other wonderful thing about live direct to voicemail is it's actually generating 4 different alerts in one. So obviously you're getting the audio message that's left on somebody's cell phone, but as many of you know, when you get a voicemail, you also receive a visual voicemail in your voicemail inbox, and that essentially transcribes the audio for you. And if you have telephone numbers or links, those links and telephone numbers are clickable. So you could do click to call, you could go to a link. So they're great for driving your audience to take some action. Thirdly, there's a live voicemail feature whereby on your lock screen, you're actually seeing the voicemail or the transcription of the voicemail as it's left by the VIP, and you can actually go in and listen to the live audio at any point. And then lastly, you're actually getting a text alert with that voicemail. So if you think about a peer-to-peer text message where that's the only alert you're getting, with live direct to voicemail, you're also receiving the voicemail in text form. And of course, you can go back and listen to it for the emotion or the personalization of the VIP. Kurt, would you take a moment to talk about how live direct to voicemail has been used recently to boost fundraising?
I can. So we just did a project. It was a beta test, whereas we did some direct mail for a client, and we split it. Whereas they were just replying back with money through direct mail, not through the digital option. So we kept it very clean, and we got a 20% better return on doing it if we gave them 2 nudges. This was a nudge. When you do what I call ringless voicemails, and that's what we've been talking about. It's just a 15-second message to say, please read what we just sent you. I don't write copy, but that was the intent of what we sent. We also followed it up, and I know we're not talking about this so much today, but we also did send them out what I call a Gabby text, and it's a text where the picture, it's a video of somebody talking and stuff like that, to also give it a boost. Combined with this ringless voicemail and that Gabby text, it gave them that extra boost. Neither situation was persuasion. That's not what this is all about. This is to push people to do something. Back to you, Sean.
Okay, thanks, Kurt. Yeah, I appreciate that. And we'll be sharing more results. We have a number of campaigns and also nonprofits that are using the direct to voicemail to chase their direct mail fundraising programs. Next, I just wanted to quickly delve into what's called live voice broadcast. And this is another patented technology that we have. Just very quickly, live voice broadcast, you could think of as a compliant robocall to mobiles, if you will, but it's not a robocall in the standard sense because we're not using a pre-recorded message. But again, we're dialing thousands of telephone numbers per second. We're leaving the live voice of the VIP on people's live answers so they can hear it in real time, as well as their voicemails. It's not limited to voicemail as direct to voicemail is. And then there's a great feature with live voice broadcast that allows recipients to press a keystroke to be transferred to a third party. So you could transfer them to a call center for fundraising. You could transfer them to a volunteer. You could transfer them to an IVR. Lots of different functionality available with this tool. Moving along, I wanted to talk about telephone town halls and some of the new features that we released that can give a boost to your fundraising programs. So the first is something called mobile live invite. We also call it mobile waiting room. Because what we're doing is when we conduct a Tele-Town hall, we still play a pre-recorded message from the VIP to the landlines. However, with the mobile phones, we actually bifurcate those and we put them in a mobile waiting room very briefly where they can hear a 10-minute welcome message from a live operator. And so by doing this, we're compliantly dialing mobile phones at the same time as landlines. We're the only provider out there doing that. And we can get through your telephone list in a matter of minutes. And we were finding that campaigns are actually reaching out to either twice as many voters or in many cases more than that. The live answer rate and the participation rate is much higher actually for cell phones because of the accuracy of that data. So we're seeing sometimes connection rates as high as 95 to 99%. It's pretty astounding. And then this also makes the Tele-Town hall event open up to a number of other features. So I'm going to be talking about our synchronized text messages during a Tele-Town hall. Kurt, before I do, you have something to add? Kurt, you're on mute.
Liz has an interesting question. I want to jump in right now. Can I ask why mobiles and landlines are not called together typically? Well, you can't. You can call landlines up in an automated sense, and you call cell phones up in the live situation he called. We do them both at the same time, but to comply legally, they come out of two different areas. One comes out of the robocall introducing the call. The other one comes in from a live person. They are all dialed out, but it's compliance is the answer. Back to you, Sean.
Okay, thanks, Kurt. So during a Tele-Town hall to the mobile participants, we can actually send a synchronized text message to them asking them to donate. And Tele-Town halls, again, as many of you know, are an authentic conversation between the candidate and his voters. And so ultimately, this authenticity primes thousands of voters at the same time to give more than they would through cold text, email, digital ads, some of the other tools. We've actually seen that fundraising in many cases actually pays for the event itself, and in many cases raises additional funds. And what it's been successful in doing is expanding your universe of small level donors, graduating your small level donor base to mid-level donors, and reactivating lapsed donors. So again, we're sending text messages immediately following the Tele-Town hall when your audience is most engaged and excited and likely to give. And another interesting statistic that the Congressional Research Institute found that 80% of Tele-Town hall participants emotionally remember the Tele-Town hall as a personal call from the candidate themselves. So again, it's not seen as a surrogate communication. It's seen as the candidate themselves reaching out to that individual voter. And Kurt, actually, would you like to talk? You mentioned Gabby Graphic, which we were using in live voice broadcast, chasing direct mail. Would you, now that we have a visual up here, do you want to just talk about what it is and some of the advantages of the tool?
You bet. So from the graphic, you can see that there's a person there. And if you press the button, there's an audio behind it. You can do video and audio if you choose to. It's a lot harder sometimes to get that done and get it done quickly. So we generally just take a still picture and say, hey, click on the button and listen to the message coming from it. In this case, we did it for recently we did it from the head of the organization to say, hey, please, it's important what we're doing and stuff like that. We just sent you some mail on it and kept it as simplistic as that. And that's between that and the ringless voicemail I described before were the things that gave us the boost over and above the other half of the mail that we did not do either one of those two. But these work really well because they're just different. I mean, every 6 months or a year, something changes in this business and communication. These have been done before, but they'll be a lot more popular this time around. Yes, we see the double MMS, but put some audio behind it just to give it a little bit more pep. And so we push. They don't cost anymore. They're really worth it. They just take a little bit more time to put together. So I suggest, if you're going to start doing some texting and stuff like that, consider putting a voice behind a picture on it to get a little more oomph and better results. Back to you, Sean.
Yeah, and we actually conducted some A/B tests with Gabby Graphic and with HD video, and we found that the Gabby Graphic was actually more relatable to your audience, and so it garnered better results. I think some people are kind of turned off by somebody just rerunning their TV ad. It's too high production. This is more personal. Show an image of yourself and your family members or something like that. The other thing I did want to mention about the importance of Gabby Graphic is that a lot of text messages that go out today, particularly SMS only, that are asking for a donation, there's a lot of concern about scams or fraudulent texts. And so if you're including a picture of yourself and your own voice, it really helps to legitimize that communication, and helps the voter to differentiate between this and likely scams, for example. Kurt, actually, before we get into advocacy campaigns, Amy, would you mind sharing our first polling question? If you'd like to learn more about our new fundraising solutions, please let us know. Okay, thank you very much for that. Kurt, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I do. We're also looking for a couple people on this. We're still doing a series of beta testing with, if you do have a direct mail project coming up, beta tests are free. So if you've got a direct mail program going out and you're in the position to ID, the difference between people that got this extra push between a combo situation of doing a Gabby text rather, as well as a ringless voicemail, we're game to try it. So whoever pushes on that, we'll get back to you and stuff like that. We want to continue to build our beta library this summer because this is really going to push. People are going to be using this all day in September. Right now it's the middle of summer, but we still want a couple more beta tests under our belt. So if you're game, push that yes button. We'll get back to you. Back to you, Sean.
Okay, thanks, Kurt. And now let's move into advocacy. So again, we talked about telephone town halls seeing a resurgence with fundraising, but there are also some new tools that can be used for advocacy purposes. We talked about mobile invite, mobile live waiting room, which brings mobile participants onto your Tele-Town hall and doubles the size of your universe. But we also have the ability to send advocacy texts to your audience during the Tele-Town hall, where we can actually ask them to click on a telephone number to be connected directly to their legislator. And instead of using the legislator's phone number in the text as a variable data point, we actually recommend using our inbound hotline telephone number. And that's so that we can actually track the metrics of who's patching through their legislator, the call duration, which legislators they're patching through to. We don't have those metrics if they're initiating the call directly to the office's phone number, but we do by using our inbound patch hotline. So that's something that differentiates us from some of the other peer-to-peer text vendors that are out there. Also, just talking a little bit about why Teletown halls are so effective for advocacy. From a scalability sense, the average Teletown hall participant stays on a Tele-Town Hall 250 times longer. Excuse me, there are 250 times as many participants on a Tele-Town Hall as we see with Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and some of these other third-party technologies. And that's because we're sending thousands of outbound invitation calls per second to your audience. So you don't see that scalability with inbound conferencing and web conferencing tools. Second, a Tele-Town Hall has an authentic two-way conversation between the candidate and the audience. And so the average person is participating for about 10 minutes on average. You can have expert speakers and elected officials participate from anywhere in the world to add credibility and authority to your position. By the same token, you get to hear from your peers, and that helps to persuade voters who are maybe undecided about their positions. And because of this interactive conversation, constituents can ask questions and really clarify their talking points before being patched over to their legislator. So confidence, understanding talking points are absolutely critical to your constituents feeling confident about patching to their legislators. It also increases the quality of these patches. We have real-time integrated polling questions with every Tele-Town Hall. So we can actually ask people who'd be willing to patch through their legislator if we wanted to do it, another communication at another point in time, and ID likely action takers. We can also do, in addition to the synchronized texts, we can do instant patch throughs during the Tele-Town Hall just by having people press 7 on their keypads. Kurt, you had several clients that have used this instant patching feature for their Tele-Town Halls. Do you want to talk a little bit about those progressive organizations?
Yes, it's been the progressive organizations, and they've been using, they've been going into Republican elected areas, and they've been having elected officials that are Democrats talking about, the biggest thing has been about the elections, the rigging of the economy and stuff like that. And it's been basically to get people engaged and to patch through their congressman. Now, sometimes they'll do it in such a way where they're trying to have people do it on a steady basis, not all at once, try to reach those offices, because there is a point of diminishing return of how many people can get through to an office. So there are ways, not just with a telephone town hall, but just to do advocacy calls and even patch throughs in general to stagger it out. And we do that now in different batches. It seems to work out quite well to get maximum deliverability to offices, so they're, as it were, their boxes and get too filled up. There's a lot of that going on right now. There's a lot of push to go into offices and stuff like that, between the bill they're trying to pass through to everything else. So there seems to be a lot of action. That one, yeah. And so what's happening is that that's going to continue, and there's going to be a need to do that probably until that thing gets done, which I don't project getting done until August. I think they're going to stay in. They're going to keep going back and forth, and there's going to be people hammering on all sides one way or the other. But that's what's being used for a lot right now, and it'll continue to change why you call the offices up and stuff like that. But this seems to be the big thing right now, tied in with the big beautiful bill and all that stuff. Back to you, Sean.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing about synchronized text to patch. Yeah, you can take real-time patches during the telephone town hall, but if you're sending a synchronized text, then participants can do it on their own timetable, and there's going to be some latency associated with that. So you'll get that natural rollout of patches. I also want to go ahead, Kurt.
Tom asked a quick question. Will the GOP respond to this? They should. Well, right now, what they're doing instead is they're doing TV advertisements in there, from what we just saw in an article that came out yesterday. And I don't know if that's as cost effective as it is dialing a bunch of people like this. Probably not, but that's what the GOP is doing. Back to you, Sean.
Okay, thanks, Kurt. Yeah, and I just wanted to quickly mention some of our other effective solutions we've seen besides the synchronized text to patch during the Tele-Town halls. Of course, professional live patches are incredibly effective if you have the budget to do them, because of their high patch rates, typically 12 to 20% of the people that you're reaching out to. Of course, you also still have that two-way interactive dialogue with the constituent. So they can clearly understand, the talking points. They can ask questions, and we can deliver quality patches to your legislator. Also, we've got live voice broadcast being used for patches. Again, this is the compliant robocall to mobiles, if you will, because we're using live voice. This is a more cost-effective solution than the professional live patches if you don't have the budget to make live calls. And again, I mentioned that ability for recipients of live voice broadcast to press a keystroke to then be transferred to their legislator. So these things are easy to and quick to set up. You don't need 10 DLC registration, as I mentioned before. And then lastly, we have this ability to send, simple peer-to-peer text to patch. But again, what differentiates us from some of the other text competitors is that ability to set up the inbound patch hotline, which is absolutely critical if you're trying to collect the metrics associated with your patch program. We talked about Gabby Graphic being a great way to relate to your audience and also to legitimize your communication so that they know that this is not a scam. With that, Amy, could you post our second polling question? If you'd like to learn more about these advocacy solutions, please let us know and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. And then lastly, we're going to be moving into Get Out the Vote, GOTV solutions, and how these new technologies can give a boost to your GOTV program. Kurt, I wanted to start off again by talking about some of the new telephone town hall features. So we've talked about these synchronized text to action, but with GOTV, what you're doing is basically sending these text messages as soon as the Tele-Town hall event ends to your mobile participants. And you're urging them to go and vote the next morning or submit your mail-in ballot or vote early, whatever form of voting is available in your state. And again, we've seen the response rates with text to GOTV to be several times higher than just cold text emails or digital ads alone. Kurt, do you want to add anything about using text for GOTV during a Tele-Town hall?
Well, you can do text and you can do the ringless voicemail. Text everybody seems to be doing, but we had in the last election in November, we did a congressional race out in this part of the country, whereas they mail their ballots out, and they mail in their ballots rather. And so you get a count by the end of election night where you got about 95% of your audience already counted, or 90%. The part they haven't counted are the people who drop off their ballots at the last minute because they know they can't mail them in. So you do one of these ringless voicemails or whatever and say, hey, too late, drop it off. It's not going to get counted if it gets there after deadline. It's not California. California, they wait up to 2 weeks after. So it encourages them to get their ballots in one way or the other, last minute ring. So anyway, this particular candidate was down by election night where they counted like 95% of it by 4,000. But what hadn't been counted is those ones that we had pushed 110,000 ringless voicemails. We did 2 waves of it on a Friday and a Monday. In the end, he won by 2,500. So it is a difference maker, and it can flip a seat, and it did flip a seat in this particular case. So these ringless voicemails are a big deal to get out the vote one way or the other. Back to you, Sean.
Yeah, and some of the other applications for these ringless voicemails. Number one, we had a senator in Texas use these ringless voicemails to drive people to his last-minute GOTV rallies, and he actually increased his attendance at his GOTV rally by 25%, and just sent out this message, literally hours before the rally. So if you do this further in advance, you're going to get even better results. And then thirdly, I also want to mention that we had a number of other U.S. Senate candidates that basically use this in lieu of or in complement of texting. Some of them actually weren't able to register for 10 DLC in time. Others were finding that their texts weren't being delivered leading up to election day. And so this was a much more time-sensitive way to communicate with voters. Again, they could do this same day and literally send out millions of live ringless voicemails. Getting back to Tele-Town halls and why they're so effective, Kurt, though, I did want to say that Tele-Town halls are really the next closest thing to having an in-person conversation with a voter. So we talked about that authenticity. We talked about the perception that most voters feel that they had a personal conversation with the voter. Again, Tele-Town halls, because it's a a personal call from the candidate are actually the aberration from the norm. People are getting 50 text messages last election cycle for every one phone call. And so they really cut through the noise of the number of peer-to-peer texts that people are getting. And then they're really quick and easy to set up. Our teams provide, full service support for your event. So you're really just focusing on the conversation. You shouldn't see a Tele-Town hall as something that's a big lift. It's really something that we're holding your hand for throughout the process. And again, you don't need to register for 10 DLC for Tele-Town hall events. You simply, script the event, provide the telephone list, and we train you to use the interface, and we can even provide a co-host and screeners for you throughout the event. Lastly, I wanted to talk about these live voice broadcasts and how they were used in this last election cycle and some of the early primaries this year. Again, the live voice broadcast is like a compliant robocall to mobiles, except with live voice. So we actually had a number of state legislative candidates that were actually administering these live voice broadcasts themselves. And that was because it only took maybe 5 minutes to send out 20, 30,000 personal voice messages to their constituents before election day. The second advantage to this we found in the state of Indiana, as many people know, you're not allowed to deliver pre-recorded message either to live answers or to voicemails without their consent. But again, with live voice broadcast, you're actually delivering live voice. You're not delivering a pre-recorded message. And then thirdly, we had a number of really large PACs that were delivering literally millions of live voice broadcasts to get out the vote in their states. And the other thing that's great about the live voice broadcast, as I mentioned, you can collect keystrokes. So you can actually record who's already turned in their ballot or who's already voted. You can remove them from your list, and then you can more economically get out the next round of live voice broadcasts in GOTV. So Kurt, before we wrap things up, is there anything else you want to say about these GOTV tools and how you think they're going to be used in this next election cycle?
Yeah, as far as the one you talked about in the state senator in Texas, what we added to that one was we implored them to press 1 to if they were going to show up to the dance, as it were. Why? Do we really count them? No, we did not. But what we learned is if they pushed 1, they felt more obligated to show up to the dance to go to the rally, which was an interesting thing to do. It really helped out a lot, actually. Would that help with everybody? Probably, because there's a percentage of people that if they do press a button, feel obligated to go. So we tied that into it as well. And then Nate had a question. Is there a difference to how to use telephone town halls for candidates as compared to issue campaigns? What are your thoughts on that, Sean?
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk about that one. So we've had dozens of issue campaigns do Tele-Town halls. And what we found is Tele-Town halls can be conducted instead of, I'll give an example. We had an issue campaign in Washington state. So it was a statewide ballot initiative. But what we did was we actually broke the universe up into 30, 40,000 voter constituencies so that we could talk about local issues or messaging that was appropriate to, let's say in the Seattle area, we were focusing more on urban messaging. Obviously, if we're reaching out to some of the farm areas, we were talking about the regressive tax and the impact on the farming community. So Tele-Town halls allow you to micro target your messaging to smaller demographics. They did about 30 Tele-Town halls. And during those Tele-Town halls, they patched through to the legislators, and they were actually successful in getting that ballot initiative voting down. And I know the issue campaign attributes that largely to the series of 30 Tele-Town halls and the patch throughs associated with that. Okay, cool. Kurt.
I think we're done. I think we do need to do a poll on this. There we go. Okay. Would you like to learn more about these get out the vote solutions? If the answer is yes, press that button and submit that vote. So there you go. And I don't know. Yeah. And I think that's it. I think as we thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Kurt. Sean, bring us to the finish line, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone for joining us today, and hopefully this gives you a better idea of some of the newest technologies that are out there that have been, proven in the last election cycle, and what we think are really going to, change the game in this 2026 election cycle. Actually, we'll see it this year with 5 of the state elections as well. So these are something that you really should be incorporating into your suite of services or your strategies for your campaign, try them out over the summer. We're happy to do test runs for you and prove concepts. So appreciate everybody's time. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. You've got our contact information here. We'd be happy to give you a demo or to answer any questions by phone or email.
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye now.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.